Welcome back to Life to the Max. There was a time, we're all aware, when people were out fighting for our freedom and they were giving their lives. Dan Monskey has that story.
Warbirds are incredible historic museum pieces, machines from another era. But they were just tools, delivery vehicles to transport a devastating package to our enemies during World War II. It took individuals to fly them and accomplish their mission. These veterans all have stories to tell.
Higher and higher, climbing to reach your best operational altitude, 25,000 feet.
In 1945, Leo Funk was a 20-year young whippersnapper pilot, the commander of a B-17 bomber during World War II, flying missions over Germany.
We had the more or less control of the air. In other words, it wasn't like the beginning of the bombardments over there where they shot down maybe half the planes. We sent in 36 bombers from my particular group, and we usually lost probably 5 to 6 bombers in combat. Every mission we had flag, that's the ground artillery. And the bottom of our ship would be covered with all these holes in the bottom, and then they'd have to repair the ship when we got back.
Dangerous and harrowing conditions the bomber crews faced were everyday occurrences.
Heavy attacks of flak. The sky would be black with you. You'd swear to God you're going into a thundercloud. It looked that bad. Then the second part were when the airplanes would come at you, and they would never attack you in the midst of the flak. They didn't want to get in it themselves. So they'd hit you going in and coming out. And they would try and pick individuals that were crippled and go after them. They'd go for the easiest looking prey, and then we'd shout back. And I'd say that would take maybe 5 minutes if you got attacked. If you didn't get attacked, it was just the flak you were sweating at. And that was bad enough, believe me.
No matter how heavy the barrage and attacks, they had to stay on course to the target.
As we got up over the target, dropped our bombs, the navigator said to the pilot, "How far is it to the ocean?" We were losing altitude because 3 engines had conked out on it. So we had to bail out. We bailed out, we landed in the cornfields, and the Germans were shooting at us in the cornfields.
It was extremely risky to trust anyone on the ground. Would they be friend or foe?
I knocked at one door one time asking for a place to stay, and I heard German sounds in there, and I backed off, and we whirled into a corn shock and spent the night there.
Bomber crews crossed deep into hostile territory. If they had trouble during a mission, they might easily be on their own behind enemy lines.
Say the one where we got shot down was the worst. Our 13th mission on the 13th of October, see? And we circled around, got over the target. 4 of them were shot down then. We were hit ourselves, so we all bailed out at about 20,000 feet. Well, at the same time that we were bailing out, the enemy was opening up at us from the ground fire, and there were shells bursting all around us.
Even while parachuting, it's still dangerous. Out of the fry pan and into the fire, wondering what might happen next.
Started to roll my chute up and put it away, and suddenly I looked out, there were 2 men and a woman coming towards me. And this woman, she came running up to me, threw her arms around me, and gave me a big moist kiss right there, and I never felt so good in my life. And she had a little house there. The Germans came through and searched the house, and they were glad to get out of that house as I was glad to get into it. They never did find me.
With help from the partisans and good fortune, Hank spent 88 days hiding and sneaking through enemy territory to get back to his unit. Conditions for flight crews in the Pacific were different, but no less dangerous.
I was a navigator bombardier on a B-25. The problem I had is that when I got overseas, the B-25 that they gave me to fly in, they had taken the bomb sight out and put 4 caliber 50 machine guns there for strafing. They took out the navigation hatch that I used and put in more caliber 50 machine guns. I was given a pile of parachutes to sit on behind the co-pilot, and there I navigated and bombardiered. And then I would take a pad of paper and a pencil so I could write on, And I'd see from the maps before I took off, it's the 5th island down on your right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's this island. Bomb the hell out of it.
Facing an adversary close up is unexpected for military personnel who shoot at and drop bombs on distant targets from the sky.
Now I could see him because he was out in the light and I was in the dark in the tent. He had a samurai sword with him, about yay long. Meanest looking sword I've ever seen. And I knew what he was looking for. So I got out my trusty 45, pulled it out. I lifted up the mosquito netting and stuck it under there so I wouldn't get malaria. And I unloaded 6 shots. The next morning we found his body, 1 hole in it, by the way. All my other bombing had been from up there, not personal at all. I don't like shooting men. I'm not proud of that at all.
Paul Rustin, a World War II military photographer, organized an exhibit to honor his fellow veterans. I was fascinated listening to his perspective of that period of history.
I discovered as I went along that these were, of course, interesting years for guys being a soldier in Europe. We slept between clean sheets and get up and we did our day's work. And these guys who went into combat, you know, especially up in England, well, in Italy too, they could have a date lined up and they'd come back and have a dinner date, but they also might die.
Dangerous and deadly experiences or even trying times can bring out the best in people, but not necessarily the ego's need for recognition. These are humble men who feel they did what had to be done for the good of mankind.
Certainly I'm proud, but I'm no hero. I did what the Uncle Sam said I had to do.
For more information on Life to the Max, go to our website at lifetothemax.tv.